So I'll just start with an introduction. So my name's Anita DeHavilland. I am a nurse by background. I worked in acute services for about 23 years before moving over to the community and uh, in a QI role. So I changed trust, and I also changed my career trajectory as well. I was previously um, in education after working on the acute medical unit. So I've put together these QI cafe sessions purely as a quick sort of 5 to 10 minutes worth of teaching, and then giving you the opportunity to ask questions and signpost you to other services or support if you need it. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so today we're going to look at how do I know QI is required. So we're just going to briefly look at what is quality improvement, the dimensions of quality, and where your improvements can come from, and just next steps. So over to you guys, really. And there's only a few of us here. So just take yourself off mic if you're able to, or put something in the chat. So what does quality improvement mean to you? I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment, um, just to see if I can see anything in the chat. So yeah, absolutely. Anything that looks at improvement. Um, yeah, fabulous. So I'm just going to share my screen again. And yeah, so, oh, let's get moving. Yeah, and so the Health Foundation, so that improvement is all about giving the people who are closest to the issues the right skills, the right tools, and the right knowledge to be able to undertake that systematic approach to bring about that measurable change, so we can really see that we're making a difference to what we're doing, and improving services for our patients and for our colleagues as well. So if we look at the dimensions of quality, so you've got it from kind of two aspects, really. So you've got people working in systems, and they deliver care that is safe. That goes without saying. You know, we're avoiding harm to people, because actually the care we're providing, we don't intend to harm them, do we? So we're making sure that we're avoiding harm, and we need to make sure that it's effective. Um, sure that our services are evidence-based. Um, our services are informed, and we're having up-to-date training. We're making sure that we're upskilling ourselves so that everything we do is effective for all of our patients. Caring goes without saying, ensuring that we're providing that dignity and respect, that compassion to our patients in everything that we do. And that's why it's so important that when we're thinking about improvement, that we're involving our patients at the heart of what we're doing. Get them involved from the very beginning. If you're in a clinic, or whether you're on a ward, just having a chat to them, hi, we're thinking about doing this, what do you think about it? And just getting their ideas can really help a lot. And then we kind of go into that, looking at the organisation as a whole. So we want to make sure that everything we do is responsive and personalised. again, what matters to our patients, how can we help them make informed decisions about their own care. And I think this one's really important, because so often in healthcare we're driven by being reactive rather than being proactive, and quite often measures, improvements are put in place without really looking at any unintended consequences that could happen. We're also then looking at whether services are well led. So again, looking at that leadership, that culture. Do we promote that culture of continuous improvement, but also making sure that we're delivering that compassionate care as well. And then sustainably resourced. So making sure that our services are delivered in a way that within our means. So we're looking at our finances, and I know that's quite topical this moment today, and well, recently as well, but certainly after hearing Wes Streeting talking on BBC News this morning, and the Lord Darcy report that's just come out. And then we're looking at being equitable. So it's about understanding and reducing those variations in equalities, and ensuring that everybody has the same access to healthcare, and that we remove this thing called a postcode lottery. We want everyone to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. And so when we look at that, we then need to think about, okay, so we've got these dimensions of quality, but where exactly could our improvements come from? And so we've just got a few things here, and this isn't an exhaustive list, but just things to think about. So we've got our evidence-based and our research. So we know there's loads of research that goes on in our organisations, but actually, is that highlighting any improvements, any changes that need to be made to care that we're delivering? The same goes for clinical audit as well. So, if we're auditing something and, it's not quite as good as we would like it to be, so what are we going to do about that? How are we going to implement change? How are we going to make sure that things are better for everyone? And then service evaluation. So actually, is our service providing the right care that we want it to provide? Is it in a timely fashion? What do our patients think about what we're doing? And then we go on to any incidences that we may have. So we know, if there's a serious incident, everything's looked into in close detail. There's like a microscope on that incident form. However, we also need to be looking at those near misses as well, because those near misses are things that could then add up to being something more serious. And we know we can earn a lot from near misses. Actually, why was that a near miss? How can we stop that from happening again? And it helps you to look at the whole process. Again, if there's any patient safety concerns that have risen that could lead into a complaint, some complaints, actually the complainants come up with some really good ideas. Actually, the service would work better if A, B, and C. And actually, it's not to dismiss that, it's actually to take that on board. And as I said, with patient participation, invite them. Actually, would you like to help us transform our service? We value your input. But it's not just about complaints, it's also about our plaudits as well. So when we look at improvement, it always tends to be because actually something's not working right and we need to change it. But sometimes we really do need to look at actually what's working well, and how can we learn? How can other areas learn from how things are going well in another area? Does it need a slight tweak to make it happen where you're working? So yeah, we very much need to look at the plaudits as well, and quite often that's missed. And then it's looking at our own sort of clinical reasoning. And so observing things in practice. So I don't know if any of you have heard of the 15 steps, but this came from a mum who said that within about 30 seconds of walking into a ward with her child, she knew what kind of day or stay it was going to be like, depending on noise, smells, or things like that. And so that's how the 15 steps came into play. And it's about, if you were walking into an inpatient area or an outpatient clinic, actually, what does it feel like? So if it is an outpatient clinic, you're walking in, actually, how noisy is it? What's the lighting not like? Are there enough chairs? Are the chairs comfortable? Can you hear what the receptionists are talking about behind reception? What are the poster boards like? Are there too many posters there? Is there a bit of sensory overload? So there's absolutely loads you can find out about an area and think, actually, I'd quite like to change that, just by taking that time out and going in to your area and observing it from the very beginning. Equally, it works quite well if you buddy up with another area and get them to come and observe yours, and you go and observe them. So you're going in with completely fresh eyes. So, yeah, not an exhaustive list, but these are just some key things that could help you to think about where your improvement could come from. Okay. So, oh, sorry. So over to you now. How will you now look at improvements within your area? And I'm just gonna stop sharing. So has anyone got any ways in which they might look at improvement differently now? You can write it in the chat if you want to. Okay, that's fine. And so really, that was kind of the end. It's end of the session. It's not about sort of telling you where improvement can come from, but actually um just thinking about all the different things that we see in our practice, what can be different. So Rebecca, you've just said including the whole team's perspective and impact on service as a whole. Absolutely. It might be you have an innovation box in your area and get teams to post something. Actually, this is an issue and I think it could be solved by, or let's work on this together. Obviously, we don't want to jump to a solution first. I had the pleasure of presenting a couple of our staff who work within a GP surgery today with an improvement award. And we just asked the question about how do you encourage improvement in your area? And they have Colin meetings. So the Colin meeting was formed out of Colin the caterpillar, and they just sat there one day over cake and a cuppa, talking about all the things that actually I've had an idea, maybe we could look at this. And so this is have and with cake every time, and just talking about things that they might want to change. Obviously they do have the occasional completely wacky idea. Actually, we're not quite sure how that would work, but there's an open discussion about it. They're creating that open that openness, readiness to change, readiness to hear ideas, which is absolutely key. So yeah, that's great. It's good to get everyone involved. Okay, does anyone have any other things they want to mention. Nope, that's okay. I will let you all go, give you back the gift of time. Thank you for coming along, and I hope you got something out of the session. Nice to meet you all.